Hi friends, welcome to Lisa's Pages. I am here today to show you a video on how I make my signatures. And this video was recommended to me to make by Laura B, I believe. So I just wanted to give you a shout out, Laura, and say thanks for watching my first video and thanks for the suggestion. I'm gonna show you the process. I've already picked out some pages, but I'm going to show you the process of once you picked out the pages, how you kind of size them down, and I'll kind of go over what types of pages I picked and why. This journal is going to have a theme. It is my autumn journal that I sort of picked pages out for a while ago and then forgot about, and I know it's getting late into the season, so now is the time to finish up this journal. So I hope you guys will enjoy sitting in with me on that process, and yeah, continue to watch and support me. If you don't mind, give me a like, subscribe, and oh, and I have one more thing. I have a question for you. So if you don't mind answering in the comments, how would you describe your journaling style? I would probably describe my journaling style as eclectic, somewhere in between vintage shabby chic and crazy colors everywhere. It kind of depends on my mood and what I'm making. I love colors, but I also love neutrals. So I tend to make things that have a little bit of both or are one or the other. So yeah, that's my style, and please let me know how you would describe yours in the comments. And without further ado, let's get to junk journaling. All right, so here we are at my desk, and I have things kind of sorted into 3 piles for 3 signatures. First of all, I will say I'm really glad that Laura recommended that I make a video about how I make my signatures, because this is normally how I start my junk journals. Probably 75% of the time I make my signatures first, and then I make my cover to fit my signatures. Obviously, if you're going to use a altered book for your journal, you're going to be starting with a certain size and trying to fit your signatures to that size. So they're both equally valid and good techniques to use. I would definitely give both a shot and see which one you like better, or if you like both. And so when I'm going to be picking my size of journal, I don't have to worry about the cover because I'm going to be hand making my cover. If you do already have your journal, then you already know what size you need it to be. It's going to be, about 1/8 of an inch less than the size of the cover on each side, just so that it can all fit inside the journal. Unless you want some pages poking out, that's also an option. All right, so what I've got, and for each signature, they each have a page similar to the ones in, well, each signature has one copy of a similar style or thickness. Thickness is what's really important here, of page. However, you will notice I do not order them the same way. So I do have one of these pages in each signature. The Edith Holden pages. Sorry if you didn't know, these are Edith Holden, Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady, pages from her book that I actually took out full signature so that I would have the full page. And there's one in each of these signatures, but I'm not laying them out in the same order, so I'm not having each signature start with the Edith Holden. The reason why I do that, I know a lot of people do it that way. I think that it's less repetitive, so when you get to the second signature, you're not like, oh, I'm at the second signature because it's another copy of the first signature. I want them to be mixed up and so that you can't really tell where one starts and one ends. That's a total personal preference. So what I've got going on, I'll just kind of take you through. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3. Well, no, 2, 3. So I have 3 plain pages, or like coffee dyed, lined paper. I have 3 of those, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 book pages or decorative pages. Scrapbooking paper, printables. Also, I'm not using printables in this particular journal, but feel free. So I'm at a 6:3 ratio, or obviously 2:1 ratio of decorative papers to plain papers. So I have 9 pages per signature right now. I am going to add in, so I have, maybe I won't add these in. Actually, I'm going to save these. Usually I would go for 10 or more pages per signature, but I kind of like the idea of 9. The less pages you have per signature, the less of a gap you're going to get in between your signatures, and the flatter your book is going to sit. So 9 pages is good. I mean, you're going to get, the less pages you have, the less like variety you're going to have. But so there's a happy medium to be found, and I would just play around with it if I was you. You know, just make one. If you're worried it's not going to be perfect because you're not sure the exact number of pages to use or the exact spacing or the exact size, just kind of go with it, because that's what I did when I started. And you know, my first one was kind of messy, and some things got cut off that I didn't want to be cut off. But it's okay. I still love it. I filled it out. I treasure it. I have it on my bookshelf on display. So like, it doesn't matter if your junk journal isn't perfect, because it's a junk journal. It's not supposed to be perfect. So yeah, so I have each of my signatures, and as you can see, I have clipped them together just to keep everything together, because like I said, I put these together quite a long time ago, and just haven't cut them down and gotten them ready. I will say, you may have been wondering why it took me so long to get this video out there, and the reason is I've tried filming it 3 different times, and each time something went wrong. The most recent time, I accidentally filmed the whole thing in time lapse. Because I've been doing this so much, I have made 8 junk journal signatures during the process of filming. So I have 8 signatures that need to go into junk journals, so I didn't really have it in me to start from scratch, and I remembered that I had this project. So that's why I'm picking this autumn journal to work on for you guys. All right, so, I'm gonna go over where I got these pages so that you guys can, you know, try to look into it if you want something similar. So like I said, Edith Holden, just beautiful. It's her diary. She does paintings of the natural world, and if you can get your hands on a copy, it's well worth it. Obviously, it's perfect for a like seasonal journal, because she has you know, dates written on there, so you can get ones that have certain days of the year. If you wanted to make a Christmas journal, you could use her December ones, or a winter journal, you could use December and January. Something like that is awesome. But also, I mean, if you don't want the word there, you can always like have that be the size of your page. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Lots of people use them in their junk journals, so if you haven't heard of it before, you will. I promise you will hear of her again. These pages are from the Audubon first edition. So it's just an encyclopedia of wildlife, and they have these beautiful illustrations. Obviously, a turkey is perfect for autumn, and he is a gorgeous turkey. This is a scrapbooking page, 12 by 12. Just thought it was pretty autumnal, and it went along. And look how nice it looks next to Mr. Turkey here, with the blue matching the blue in his head, the orange. It's really nice. This is a piece of vintage lined ledger paper that I have tea dyed, as you can see. I was really happy that the colors didn't bleed when I tea dyed them. These are just awesome. This is another page from the Audubon. This is a coffee dyed paper. This is a scrap of wallpaper. If only we could feel things through video. If you touch this, it's raised, and it's really interesting. And you can see it's shiny. This page was the first page in another encyclopedia. I believe it's the Encyclopedia of Plants and Flowers or something like that. And boy, I mean, it's just perfect for fall. It was the very first page, or it was actually the backing page that I managed to get off. And so it's a different material than the rest of the book. The rest of the book is glossy, but these are nice and matte. This is from a book of children's poetry. I totally forget what it's called. Somebody Else's Nut Tree. It's not by Maurice Sendak, but the illustrations are. The guy from Where the Wild Things Are, that author. And so I also want to talk about the order. So there are a lot of steps I've already done. Oh, and when this came out of the signature, this is how they did the binding. So I'm gonna have to go in and strengthen this so that, you know, we don't just have it tear in half. It's already starting to here. So for the order, I already talked a little bit about the order, about why I don't do it the same way for each signature. The other thing I try to do is divide up text and divide up plain pages. So I didn't want, like this, I didn't want text next to text. And I didn't want this plain next to plain, if you can help it. Sometimes you might want in the center of your signature, like a double coffee dead spread. If you are a big fan of doing like a big journal spread, then you might be into that. I get a little overwhelmed by them, so I try to keep them to a minimum. So like this is writing space or collage space, mixed media space, and this is the decorative side. I mean, you can continue to add ephemera and other decorations to the decoration page, especially ones like this, but it's just nice to break it up. Oh, and I did it. Back to this. Another thing about order, let's see here. Color. I like to have, so if you have like a shorter page, so when we trim down our signature, this is probably still going to be shorter than the other pages because I think I'm going to be going for a bigger size journal than the size of this paper. And that's great. I love having small pages that let you peek underneath them. And it's key when you're doing that to think about how the two pages go together. And then if you were to have two decorative pages in a row, if that's something you wanted to do, I would just watch that they are not clashing. So that's a little bit about order. Oh, you know, I am going to add one more page to each of these signatures because I'm going to be adding an envelope pocket. And I'll show you how I make those. So we'll get to that. Now, I'm thinking that I'm going to keep the length of the Edith Holden page as my journal size, but that I am going to be... Am I going to cut it down or am I going to keep it that wide? I may want to keep it that wide. I kind of wish I hadn't folded this. I think that was a mistake. So, you know, think about things more thoroughly before you start folding. I shouldn't have done that. I think I'm going to go with the Edith Holden page. Maybe trim just the teensiest bit, like 1/8 of an inch off each side, and then use that as my sizing guide. So yeah, I'm gonna add one more page to each signature, and that's gonna be an envelope pocket. So I've got some envelopes here, and what we're gonna do is just take them, open them, and tuck one into the other so they meet up nicely. And when you connect these together, I'm going to sew them. You can glue them. You can choose to connect them here on this side and leave this flap as like a little journaling space. Or you could glue all the way down, sew all the way down, and keep it, just make it closed on that side. I might do one of each, and then one of my signatures, instead of the envelope, I'm going to use a bag. I'm actually just going to cut the bag where that line is. I'll save that. I don't know what I'll use it for, but something. And then you just want to fold in half. Sorry about that. I had to cut for a second. So it does feel that this is going to be quite a bit thicker than the envelope pockets, which means that although part of the reasoning for that, I could flatten it out. I don't like how big that is. And I like the accordion style of the pocket because when it'll be like that and it'll be able to open up nice and wide. One of the signatures is going to be slightly thicker than the other two, and that's okay with me. I'll probably make it the middle one. I did think I wanted this as my first signature, so I'll make that one have that envelope. Let's figure out where we want to put our envelope pocket. That's an option. Not there. We really like that combination. Oh, let's do it here, because this is a boring page with the ledger and the blank side of that. All right, so that's that one. And then we're going to add our bag somewhere to this one. So that is an option. Oh, and I folded this page too. I was clearly planning on having this be a smaller journal than what I'm going to change it to be right now. It's kind of nice there. I really wish I hadn't folded these. Oh well, such is life. And as you can see, I did do a double blank page on this signature. That's okay. That's a challenge for me. That's what I need. I think I like it here. And then we need an envelope. Double envelope situation again. Well, that's a very boring page. That could have a pocket. Okay, next step. Obviously, we're not going to make a junk journal. I mean, not obviously, you can do whatever you want. That's this tall and this wide. That would be a very large junk journal. So like I said, I want to cut it down to the size of the Edith Holden pages. So I'm going to use one of those as my guide. I'll just use this one since it's the first page in this particular signature. And, oh, and like I said, I wanted to trim it a little bit. So let's trim that first, just so our guide is the size we want it to be before we start measuring. And so as you can see, I'm avoiding actually cutting anything. I'm basically just cutting off the margins. And then we can use this as the guide for our other Edith Holden pages as well, so that they will all be the same size. And we'll get there. Yeah, that's about an 1/8 of an inch. Tiny bit more. Now, I like to cut all my pages down together. The reasoning for that is that if you cut them all individually to size, the pages in the middle of your signature, because as you can see, the paper isn't, paper has thickness, and the ones in the middle will be pushed further out. So if you want them straight, you should cut them all together. But before I do that, I just want to go through each and every page and make sure there's nothing I'm going to cut off. Like, for example, if I had something small and it was going to cut off this turkey, I might try to preserve like this part of the turkey, which would mean cutting off some top and some bottom. And how I like to do that is to cut off the bottom now while you're measuring, put it back in, and then you'll see how we would trim the top when I do it. This isn't going to matter. It's all a pattern. And I don't think any of my pages are going to really matter that much. Oh, this one does. Perfect. Okay. So you see, if I cut at the top, we'd lose some of this image. Whereas if we cut here in the middle, all we lose is the page number and some margin space. So what I'm going to do is cut off the bottom right there. Right now. Now I don't need to cut the top and the sides yet, and you will see why. So this is a perfect example. I'm gonna tuck that in. And now that we know all of our pages aren't gonna get cut off, another thing you can do instead of, picking a spot, if you want, watch Joey DeFee's, watch her how to make a junk journal video about page folds, because she does some really interesting page folds where then you would have your turkey, and that's what I was doing back when I folded these and thought it was going to be a smaller journal, so that then this would be like something, it would look like this on the page, but then you could pull it out. Another option is, and actually I think I am going to do this before we cut. Let's do it with this scrapbooking paper. Another option is to make a pocket. It's got to be about that big. Oh, and I want to trim this off too. Regardless, yeah, I'm trimming that off. These scrapbooking pages have an extra ½ inch so that they could put a hole in them. I'm just going to cut that off. And then I'm going to make this into a pocket, a built-in pocket that's part of the signature. To do that, and I want to keep it, there we go. That's all you have to do. I kind of messed up that fold a little bit. There we go. All you have to do is fold down like that, fold in, and then before we sew in our signature, we can glue just here and just here, or you can sew, and then you have a pocket on each of these pages, because this will get sewn in and sewn down. All right. Now we are ready to cut. So what I do before I cut, tap, 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 tap along the spine of the book so that they're all tucked in there. One more tap along the bottom so that all your pages are lined up on the bottom, because we've already trimmed the bottom. So anything that's coming off, we're going to cut off the top and the right hand side. So we're going to line this guy up with my marks here. And then we're going to line up our Edith Holden page. And so now we see the edges that I'm going to have to cut. And if you have a guillotine paper cutter, now is the time to use it. I am jealous of you. I do not have one. I just have this slidey guy, which can only handle a couple sheets at a time. I take my brace off for this. I broke my arm at the beginning of the summer, and it's been a long healing process, because they put me in a cast, and then they took the cast off and did more x-rays and realized it hadn't healed at all correctly, and so I had to have surgery. But it's getting there. Now you're going to take your ruler and it has to be cork backed. If you don't have a cork backed ruler, invest in one because you don't have a guillotine cutter either, and those are more expensive. So invest in a cork backed ruler because otherwise your ruler will slip all over while you're doing this cutting and it'll just not work at all. Getting my ruler lined up. Don't mind me if I'm in the shot. Okay. Oh, a little shiny bit. Okay. Now you need one of these retractable box cutter craft knives that with the break off blades. And the other thing I will say is that you want to go through blades more than you think. So I was going through like one every 2 or 3 signatures. You will notice a huge difference between a sharp blade and a not sharp blade on this thing. All right, once you're all lined up, you can't make any more movements. Now this left hand has to hold still. And the key to doing this is not to press down very hard. Do not use force. You will just start to rip the pages, and that's a disaster. So just let the blade do the work. Let it slide through, and just keep on doing that. I've had this where I've done like, get the stuff that's already cut out of the way. I've had this where I've been doing like 20-page signatures, which are very thick. And where was I going with that? And it just takes longer. There is like a desire to start pushing. Try to cut faster. Don't do it. Don't give in. I'm actually going to line this up on there. Oop, I slipped. See, if you slip even a little bit, and it's a lot harder, you guys, when you have a camera in your face in between your book that you're working on. So that's why I'm having to do this so many times. You'll be able to do it faster than I am. I normally can do this a lot faster. I might even speed this part of the video up. We'll see. Ah, oh, I slid. There. All right. Same thing. And ta-da! All our pages now fit together, and the ones that are long enough have lined up nicely along the edge with only a tiny, tiny bit of fraying, which will happen when you're using this and not a guillotine cutter. It's just going to happen. But you'll get a lot more fraying if you push. So don't push. I got a lot more fraying on the top here. It's like hard for me to angle correctly with the camera, but that's totally fine. It's a junk journal. Still going to use this as my guide. For this signature, I am not going to make a pocket with the scrapbooking paper because it's already going to be the thicker signature because of the bag. And adding a pocket is just adding another layer. That's fine. That's fine. This is the one. This is the one we got to cut the bottom off. Oh, and I've got to trim this hole off this signature again. Or this sheet of paper, rather. And I already know that they're all going to fit, but I'm just reminding you guys, do every page, front and back. You never know when you might mess up an image. And I did that several times while filming this. So it's good to remember and to double check yourself. Sometimes you really got to just take the individual papers and get them to go down, because sometimes it doesn't work with tapping alone. I just realized we got to do it to the Edith Holden page because we trimmed that other one. We got to trim this one on the bottom. See, guys, always, always double check yourself before you start cutting. There's the second one. Voila! Now we have 3 same size, more or less, you know, it's never perfect, signatures to make for our junk journal. This will be a nice size journal. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. For my next video, I will be showing you how we take these signatures and design a cover and spine to go with them, and may include decorating the cover depending on how long that goes. Otherwise, decorating the cover will be the video after that. So you guys will get a full tutorial on making junk journals with me. And don't forget, in the comments below, let me know what your junk journal style is. And I love you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. And stay tuned.